Hello, hello, and welcome to Elite Week. I hope everybody can hear me well. Kai is muted? Really?
I heard you through the Twitch stream.
That's okay. There, Nolan is saying Kai is muted. Nope, Nolan. All right, Sword's just fucking trolling me. Welcome, hello, everybody. We're gonna do a real quick sound check. I'm hearing from people that I'm good. Roy, talk a little bit.
Happy New Year. Happy 3307, everyone. Good
All
evening.
right. Yeah, I'm ignoring Sword now because he said Roy low before Roy started talking. Let's see. I'm a bit loud. Roy's half my volume. That's okay. Let me adjust this. Hold on. This is going to take just a second. I am doing the tech myself tonight for the first time, so this is a little whatever. Please excuse the workaround here. All right, try now, Roy.
Test 1, 2, 3. Good evening. Good evening.
Talk a
Test,
little more.
test, test.
Mm-hmm.
Hope everyone had a great holiday, whichever one you took.
No effect. All right. Well, on Discord, I've got the Discord sound set to maximum. And I'm going to adjust him to 200% here. Try now.
Test 1, 2, 3. Looking forward to a better year. Hope everyone's doing well. Staying safe.
Roy is fine. Okay. Tweet. Talk for 10 seconds. Say hi. Call out. I
Hap-
give a shout out to a ton of OPIX guys.
Happy New Year, everybody. 3307 in game now. OPIX is doing great.
Right on. Tweaked is low. All right, I'm just going to blow out my ears so that everybody else can hear. Try now. I got to do it at 200%.
All right, here we are. Test 1, 2, 3. Happy Elite Dangerous.
Tweaked is quiet. All right, I'm going to need you guys to turn yourselves up because I literally have now under playback for the virtual cable, I've got the Discord at 200% or, at maximum, and I've got you guys at 200% in Discord. So I'm going to turn myself a little bit down, and so everybody else can turn their volume up. There, I've turned myself down. So now turn your volumes up, people, because I don't know what else to do at this point. I'm not good at this tech shit. Arson, try talking a little bit.
Good evening, everybody. Happy 3307.
All right. Say a few more words, please.
A few more words, please, and thank you.
All right. Arson is low. Arson is at 200%. I can't. There's no more. It's just no more. Hold on. I'm going to turn myself down a little more so you guys can turn the volume up. There. How about that? I don't know what else to do. I apologize, but this is what we're going with because I will work with Arson after the show, but I shit you not. I have Discord output maxed at the red line, and I've got every last person in Discord in this room with me at 200%. So there's nothing more I can do. So we're going to run with this. I hope everybody enjoys it. Yeah, let's just get this shit going, and then we'll get into what all's going on here. Let's see. So now we go to this, and I'm not set up for this tech shit.
I'm not hearing any audio coming through the stream.
Yeah, the intro song's not playing. Did you hit play?
I'm hearing me coming through the stream. Mm-hmm.
How about now? It's muted. It's listed.
Commitment's what I'm thinking of. You would. We're no strangers to love. You know the rules. So do I. For commitment's what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I just wanna tell you how I'm feeling. I got to make you understand. I'm never gonna get you out. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. We've known each other for so long. Your heart's been aching, but you're too shy to say it. Inside we both know what's been going on. We know the game, and we're gonna play it. And if you ask me how I'm feeling, don't tell me you're too blind to see. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you.
All right. Hello, hello. And welcome to Elite Week, episode 55, Year in Review, Galactic Watercooler podcast. Oh boy, this is going to be a little different this week. We took last week off for Christmas because it was Christmas Day, and yeah, that's just how that shit rolled. As far as this week goes, we're going to do something a little different. It is New Year's Day. It is the first day of 2021, or 3307. And I wanted to get it started by rickrolling the entire audience just because that's how we do shit here. There is another bottle gone. So let's start the show. With me, as always, is my co-pilot, the Canadian with the mostest. Say hello to the boys and girls, Roy.
Happy New Year.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Happy New Year. Oh, I think Roy's still muted. Let me... All right, try again, Roy.
Happy New Year, everyone. Glad you're here with us to kick
There
it
you go.
off.
There you go. I'm seeing your little thing moving on the mixer. So for those of you who have listened to the show before, let me just explain that I am taking over the reins as the producer of the show from Arson for the first time this week. Arson will be still with us from time to time, like half the shows or whatever, but not every show because he's had some changes in his life circumstances that have made it such that he cannot commit to every Friday. So if you are a person that is tech savvy, and I mean in any way, because I am not at all, and want to take over as the producer of Elite Week, hit me up in the Discord because we can work something out. I will pay you in Pokemon cards or sexual favors or something. But yeah, we need a producer because I'm doing it now, and I think everyone on the stream can tell you that that's suboptimal. Also with us tonight is Tweet. Say hello, Tweet.
Happy 3307, everybody. I hope the new year has kicked off to a great start for you guys.
Absolutely. And it's suddenly occurring to me that my whole shtick of like showing up drunk and doing the show, it's less good when you're actually in charge of the tech portion of it. Also with us tonight is Arson Cross. Now, I want to say before he says a word, I want to say, Arson, I love you, man. You do the tech shit for the Discord. You have quietly suffered as the tech guy for the show and done all of this prep work and setting up stuff and whatever. And then as soon as it came time, like you're like, okay, I cannot commit to being here every week because my job situation and life situation just changed. I was like, okay, we're going to scale back everything and make this just a casual talk show. But Arson, say hi to the beautiful people.
Hello, everyone. I expect either sexual favors as payment or girly giggles for the time spent.
I can give you the giggles. I can't give you the sexual favors.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Girly giggles are a very high value.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So this is the whole crew. We're doing a little bit of a different show tonight. I'm going to take just 1 second to kind of like do a 2-minute, 3-minute sort of intro, whatever, normal week news stuff because, you know, we're your place for all of the news, but this year's a fireside, this week is a fireside chat of talking about like, hey, what do we think of 2020? What do we think is coming in 2021? How do we feel about things? This is a sort of big picture thing. And I feel like we need to sort of address just the nitty gritty of the last 2 weeks fast. So right now is sort of a lull in Elite Dangerous as far as just, you know, there's no CGs, there's no whatever. It's the Christmas break. It's the Christmas/New Year's break. Next week, I fully expect things to be happening and the world to be alive and vibrant and whatever, continuing with the whole galaxy is moving again thing. So
There's some things happening out there.
no, I'm just about to say that part. So real quick, here is the things that are actually happening in the universe. Number one, a ton of Lakon ships are on sale. I think until, I don't know, I think just for a couple more days.
Yesterday? You sure?
Oh, it might have just ended. And number two, some Core Dynamics ships were on sale, and again, it might have just ended. But more importantly, number three, engineering shit is sort of on sale until January 7th. The engineers are sort of trying to get your like support by giving you cheap engineering. Basically, just to sum it up in the TLDR is engineering is half the cost. You're not going to get engineering extra good. It's not going to be better than it would be any other time, but it's going to cost you half the mats to go from an absolutely naked, zero engineered module to a tier 5 max module. It's basically somewhere around half the cost. So it's awesome until January 7th. Get in on that. That was a thing. And it was super smart of Frontier to do. They said, like, hey, we're going to give our guys, and God love David Braben for saying, like, hey, man, we're going to give our guys a week or sorry, a 2-week break for Christmas. I love a company that actually takes care of their people. That's to be saluted and appreciated. And in a tech world where developers like work their people to like insanity levels, I love the fact that this guy takes care of his people. So while they were giving their people a 2-week break, they did a couple of things. And one of the things was set up cheap ships to buy and cheap engineering to engineer those ships that you just bought. So, that's beautiful. In addition to that, there have been a couple of things that have happened in the world news-wise. First off, for those who haven't been paying attention, on the anti-Xeno side, I thought at Halloween was going to be the big AX, dun dun dun, they returned. It didn't happen. But it happened just a couple of days ago. And 9 systems, some in the Coalsack, some in Witchhead, are under attack. And these are all Alliance sort of systems that are being hit hard. The anti-Xeno threat has returned. And goddamn, I know there's so many people. First off, the AXI is, of course, the premier anti-Xeno community, whatever. And I love them. I love Mgram. I love Avasu. I love, my friends at the AXI. But in addition to that, I have much love for my brothers in the hand. This is plucky little group of guys that are just doing crazy shit. And there was just recently a guy that took on a Hydra and posted a video in the AX channel of Elite Week Discord that, he did another Hydra kill and posted the video and the whole 9 yards. And like, that is a huge achievement. So all of these AX guys, whether it is the Hand or the AXI or the what's the other one? Hand, AXI. I can't. The Hive. In those groups, like, yeah, man, these guys have been suffering for a while with the drought of content, and it's back. Operation Ida, whose main sort of gameplay loop that they enjoy is like defending humanity by repairing the stations. There are 9 systems in attack right now between the Coalsack and the Witchhead. So like, these guys have had a lot of opportunities to, now in a group of areas. This isn't sort of like the normal attack. The normal attack back in the day was like 3 or 4 systems getting attacked. Now it's 9 systems in 2 separate regions being attacked. So all of our AX brethren have gameplay. Congratulations. Welcome to 3307. All of our Operation Ida brothers and our, what are those guys? The disaster relief guys. Those guys are awesome too. They have something to do. I'm sure the Hull Seals are getting called. I'm sure, there are so many different groups that have a massive amount of opportunities and gameplay things going on now. So it's like, hell yes. Art was telling you guys, trust me, it's coming. He didn't lie. It came. And I think that the unprecedented sort of level of this attack shows that like new stuff is going to be different. It's going to be exciting. Pay attention because shit is stepping up a notch. In addition to that, Galnet even just, was it today or yesterday? I mean, just recently dropped a next thing where Pranav Antal, the guy from the weirdo fucking hippie commune group, they like said, hey, we want to set up a summit of the leaders of the sort of, different groups, and we want to get together and figure out how we're going to handle this threat and what we're going to do with different issues and whatever, and invited Zach Hudson of the Federation and Arissa Lavigne Duval of the Empire and Edward Mahan of the Alliance over, like, say, hey, let's come talk this stuff out. And that seems like a prime target for the NMLA to attack, or for anyone with mischievous intent to go at. So, like, who knows how that's all going to work out. This is neat stuff happening in this sort of, they pre-scheduled drops and events and things to happen in a very smart way to cover themselves, to say, like, hey, we're going to give our employees a 2-week break, but we're going to keep our players, our player base, happy with stuff happening during this time, which is, I think that's awesome, and big salute to that. In addition to that, the Lakon story has been progressing. The whole thing where Lakon is saying, nah, thanks, but no, to Core Dynamics, who's trying to buy them out. And then now there's some shady shit happening in the background and some instabilities and whatever. And it's looking like Lakon is more in peril, that Lakon's about to go. There are foxes in the hen house that are sort of doing their work, and shit's about it. It's looking more and more like they're not going to have an option. I could be wrong and things could change, but the way it's looking right now, I'm thinking Core Dynamics is taking over Lakon, which is going to lead to a couple of different interesting possibilities. Number one, the merger of Core Dynamics and Lakon bring about all kinds of possibilities of, like, what other SRVs are we going to get? It seems like Lakon would be the perfect people to make trucker or dump truck or different kinds of SRVs, and Lakon would be the perfect people. Lakon and Core Dynamics merged together. What are Lakon known for? Hauling. What are Core Dynamics known for? Sort of big, massive ships. Put the two together, what do you get? Panther Clipper. Don't tell anyone I said that. Wow. In addition to that, in, I think it was FFE, in Frontier First Encounters, there was a very famous sort of shipbuilder that represented the Alliance that was AAA. There was I forget the name, it was like Alliance, I don't know. But they had their own shipbuilder that was big in the lore. And let's not lose sight of the fact that as far as sort of ships in Elite go, we are right now not only in the largest drought of, like, a break between a new ship coming out, it's twice as much as the longest time period in Elite. The last two ships that they came together. They were the Mamba and the Crate Phantom. It's been well over a year since those came. I mean, well over a year. It's been like 18 months. I don't know. A long time since those come out. Before that, the longest time we had ever waited between ships was like the 6 to 9 month period. And earlier on in the sort of distribution process of them building up the ships, they were coming every couple of months. So I honestly feel like between A, the long time period between new ships, B, the fact that there is movement on the shipbuilding front of these companies that make these ships, and C, the realistic fact that we play a space flight simulator game where they're about to ask us for a bunch of cash to buy new game, and normally the way that you sell that, ask any of the guys at Star Citizen, you sell your game on the back of sexy new ships that people are like, oh, I want to buy this, I want to fly that. It's a no-brainer. I think it's coming. New ships are coming, and so when you see big news events of two of the biggest shipbuilders in the game possibly merging, it just seems super, super obvious to me that it's like, man, this is setting up a storyline for new stuff to happen there, one way or the other. So let's take a minute, and I want to bring in the guys. We're doing a kind of a different, like I said, we're going to go back next week. We'll go back to our regular scheduled sort of shows. We're going to make some changes on the format. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to bring in the guys to talk about, like, okay, this week's news as far as AX return and, the stuff about the engineering and all that and the part about the new ships and stuff. What do you guys think about all that stuff? Let's start with Arson.
I know the AX stuff kind of caught me by surprise, and I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention the last couple of weeks. Just been too busy to do so. But I saw whispers of conflict zones.
Oh yeah, AXCZs are
right
back. Not only are AXCZs back, there are multiple different levels of CZs that are back. In that, AXCZ zeros are back. Conflict zone threat level zeros are back, which are weird, peculiar ones that have not been seen since like 2016 or some shit, 2017, whatever. Where there, so and those ones are not. Those ones are weird and different, but Canon is tracking them. The AXI are tracking them. I know people are looking into that, like, okay, what does this mean? Because before that was tied to story stuff, so like, that's different. In addition to that, all the regular CZs are back, and the big ones are hitting, and they're not hitting the Pleiades. They're not hitting sort of the older areas. They're hitting the Witch Head, and they're hitting the fucking the Coalsack. So did you have more, Arson, that you wanted to say? All right. So tweet. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I'm excited about the engineering sale, I guess we'd call it, going on until the 7th, because people are always complaining about the grind it takes to get those materials, and now is a great time. For example, I just engineered a cutter, which large ships are hungry for those maps when you're engineering. So I figured no better time to do it than now. So that's exciting to me. But as you were saying, all these Galnet stories with the Lakon and all the shipbuilders and everything, that screams new ships to me, and that is an exciting prospect.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Tweaked, where do you... Just call it now. What do you think? I mean, for my money, I don't think we're getting Panther Clipper, honestly. I think we're getting the Boa and the Gecko. I think we'll get those. I'm super excited. But what do you think, Tweak?
I don't know about names or anything, but I do know we are missing an Alliance large ship. We have the Vet, we have the Cutter. We don't have an Alliance large.
An Alliance rep grind.
That coming along.
Yeah, an Alliance rep ship. All right. Very cool. And let's along those lines, since you pointed out that we're missing that Alliance ship, Tweak, let's not lose sight of the fact that what is the one famous ship that the Alliance are known for from lore that isn't in the game? Mick Turner flew out and explored in a special super duper extra jump rangey Alliance ship that was a prototype, a one of a kind, a one off, when he went out and found the Thargoids back in the day, according to the Elite Dangerous lore. So how would you like to see a super duper Alliance exploration ship?
Oh yeah, bring it.
Hell yeah.
The more the better.
All right. Roy, share your thoughts with sort of this stuff that's been going on and the brilliance of Frontier to sort of set up some busy work for us. I mean, I don't want to say that in a negative way. Like I'm saying that as a salute to them. They did a smart thing of giving their people time off while giving us stuff that's fun and enjoyable, instead of just saying, we'll be back in a couple weeks, just sit around and do nothing.
Yeah, I like that they gave some, not exactly toys to play with, but some things that I guess make playing with the existing toys easier. So that was good. I'm really curious to see how the Thargoid invasion is going to ramp up.
Hard, I think.
It just dropped, right? So it's still pretty fresh, and I don't know. I get the sense this isn't just 9 stations and then wait for us to fix them, and then something else happens later. This is probably, I think, just the first wave of something that's going to keep increasing. I hope so. I mean, there's there was in the lore, obviously the provocation of trying to terraform an ammonia world. They've got a good position, meaning like a good reason to be upset,
Oh
good
yeah.
reason to attack. So it would fit if it continues to get bigger and bigger. Yeah, as far as the ships, I'd like to see some ships from the previous, that were featured in previous versions of the game that haven't made it here. Curious to see if we're gonna, how that's gonna roll out. If we're gonna see some that are more specialized for air to ground. I think there was mention also of maybe there'd be some way to make smaller ships more useful. So I'd be happy to see that too.
Absolutely. I think it's super interesting. And going based on the chat, there's two things that are coming up that I'm seeing that are interesting. The first is, the idea of like, as I said earlier, Thargoids attacked 9 stations, which is unprecedented. They've never attacked that many at one time. So like this is not, it's not even a matter of like, okay, we turned it back on, there's a thing for you to do. It's like, this is new. This is different. This is harder than before. And, salute to all of the AX community guys, whether we're talking about the AXI, the Hand, the Hive, Operation Ida on the logistic support side of the AX conflict and whatever. Like, there's more coming. So you guys are going to have stuff to do. As far as the other thing that I'm seeing is Space Mercenary in the chat. I personally would love an Imperial Explorer, even better if it's inspired by some Star Citizen ships. Like, we just had a situation where Star Citizen stole the ASP Nomad. They made the Consolidated Outlands Nomad, which is basically the ASP Scout. And it's like, it would be absolutely just hilarious and trolly for Elite to put out a new ship that maybe has a little bit of a resemblance to like the what is it, the Star Runner, the Mercury Star Runner, or maybe something that looks a little bit like a Cuddy Black or something. Like that could be hilarious, but whatever. I think they have their own just thing that they're going to do, and I don't think they're going to sort of stoop to that level, but it would be hilarious and trolly. But so, okay, that covers sort of the week of, or the last sort of 2 weeks of Elite as far as the stuff that's going on. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that any of you guys on the panel that want to hop in on for this period before we get into our proper year in review?
I'm good.
Nope. Hearing none, we shall move on. Big drink, everybody. All right. So next up, let's take a second to talk about Elite Week and the changes that are happening with Elite Week. I have heard from some people feedback of things, and I've been thinking some things over, and also there have been some just logistical changes with regard to Arson's not going to be on the show. He's going to be on the show, but not like every week doing the tech part. So when it comes to like, okay, well, Kai, you got to do it. Like, I am not made for this whole tech shit. So a lot of this stuff is going to be changing as far as how we do what we do. Number one, we were starting to put out some shows that were in the 3-hour range. And I think that, for certain occasions, having expanded coverage is not a bad thing. But 3 hours is a lot. I think that, number one, I wasn't getting a chance to play Elite Dangerous all that much because I was doing the show like it was a job. And number two, it's a situation of, how do I say it? I don't think it's a good idea to like put out a 3-hour plus show. I feel like there's a lot of people that are like, dude, I like your show, but like, man, that's a lot to deal with. So we're going to scale it back a little bit. We're going to we might cover something. We're free to cover anything we want at any point. The only thing I won't do is I will not talk about this week's episode of The Expanse. I might talk about last week's. So if you come here and but I won't talk about this week. The one that dropped 2 or 3 days ago, I'll give you a week solid to give you, so you're safe. But other than that, if a space thing happens or I want to talk about the Expanse or whatever, like we're going to keep it open to do sort of whatever we want, including talking about, Star Citizen or anything, just whatever. Like I don't care. But we're going to scale it sort of back a little bit more so that what I kind of want to do is I want to put out a show in the 60 to 90 minute range. Maybe on a week that's a huge Newsweek show. Maybe 2 hours, but like at a hard cutoff 2 hours, like not a minute over, and definitely not a 3 hour show. I feel like it'll be better for the people. I feel like you guys are going to enjoy it more if we tighten it up a little bit and kind of cut off some of the excess. So we're looking to make some changes with regard to that. We'll still have Roy stories. I know a lot of people have said, like, don't get rid of Roy stories. We're still doing that. We're still going to have, a couple of sections here and there with different things, but we're going to pare it back a little bit. In addition to this, there's some things that I think might be a good idea to add to the show that would be not an every week thing, but a sometime thing. And one segment in particular is, I think I kind of want to do a calling all commanders. And basically what that means is I'm going to create a channel in the Discord that is going to be the, on-air waiting room or something. And people can go in there and they can message in the Discord what they want to talk about. So like if you want to come on and talk, like we're going to do the show, we're going to have our discussion bits, and then maybe if we talk about that week, the pulse wave analyzer or AXCZs or BGS or some rebalance change and increased payment on conflict zones, and you're like, oh, I got a thing that I really want to say on this that I think is interesting, and I whatever. I like the idea of kind of bringing people from the community, commanders in to like, you'll let us know. Essentially, hopefully we'll have a producer at that point. I hope it's not me doing it. And like that person will say like, hey Kai, I got this guy that's got an interesting point on this. And I'll say, okay. And we'll grab you. We'll pull you into the channel with us, and you can tell us your thoughts, and we'll hash it out. We'll talk it out. You could be a part of the panel for a few minutes and, kind of share and express your thoughts and ideas in a way that, hopefully will be interesting and compelling, and we'll give people the chance to sort of hear from other people as well, in addition to just a couple of us. And I've talked this over with Arson. Some of the other guys of the show are just hearing this for the first time and are probably going like, wow, that's interesting. Or like, whoa, that's a dumb idea. But whatever, it's a thought. So the show format's going to change, and you'll see next week it'll be sort of a weekly show of discussion of the news of Elite Dangerous, but more discussion and less sort of prepped up segments of stuff. So we'll hopefully you'll like it. So let's get to the actual sort of fireside as far as the year in review. 3306 or 2020 in real life has been an interesting year for the world, for Elite Dangerous as well. It's been a dumpster fire. Like 2020 is an absolute dumpster fire of a year in real life. And let's be honest, 3306 was a dumpster fire of a year for Elite Dangerous at the beginning of it. We were coming out of sort of a big content drought. And for me, it didn't really bother me. I was loving things because I was sort of newer to Elite Dangerous and I had so much goals and things that I needed to work on. But for the old timers, for people that have been playing Elite for a long time, 2019 and 2020 were low points in the game as far as early on. 2019 in general and early 2020, I think, because they felt like it was a massive content drought. Frontier sort of took a break from doing Galnet and CGs and stuff. Like they put stuff on pause, and obviously for the reason of they were working on, Odyssey stuff and getting stuff set up. And that's a, I get that. I get that. That's an interesting whatever. But where 2020 or 3306 started as a shit year for Elite, oh my God, they picked up the pace and it's ending strong. Like, so while I think there's a lot of valid criticism and reason to gripe and the whole sort of Yamix crowd and the whatever, there was reason to gripe in the first half of the year. The second half of the year, man, they've kicked it up, and they've kicked it up several notches. Now, I don't want to I want to address the first half of the year, though. I think that with regard to the first half of the year, I hope that they don't. It's a choice. What they made, it wasn't like they ignored the game. It wasn't like the game was dead. We can see now from everything that they were doing. But the choice to do it the way that they did it, they allocated their resources such that they put basically the live game experience sort of on hold for a huge chunk of early 2020 to focus on future development. I very much would like to hope that in the future, because, in 2022, we're going to be back at the same point where we're looking for sort of the next expansion, the next thing to come. And I hope that at that point, they allocate their resources a little differently so that they don't do the same thing that they did here. Because I would very much like them to make sure that they allocate enough resources for current live game experience of, CGs, Galnet, IIs, whatever, events, things. I hope that they allocate their resources such that they keep two separate things going and, have a team that keeps the live game fun and exciting and alive in the universe vibrant, and then has a separate team that's doing future dev. That's just my personal sort of opinion. But let's jump in. Let's start with, well, first off, does anybody have anything they want to say in response to that? My statement there?
I could certainly riff on that a bit.
Go for it.
My timeline, if you will, within this game started a bit after yours. I actually started playing right as the January patch went out. And similarly, had lots of things to do. I had binged on a bunch of videos from, Astro and others, and was ready straight out of the gate, ready to do a bunch of stuff, and then dove straight into the Distant Screws expedition a few weeks after that. So it was kind of a whirlwind. And I do remember in various content creators and outlets and so forth, this sense like people weren't sure how much energy was going to be put into the game in the future. Are they kind of harvesting the last bits of revenue from an old game, or is it about to have a new life, or what? And their silence certainly didn't help. So I can certainly agree that, look, they're not a small company. Then this isn't some indie startup that's only got 3 guys and they can only do this thing or that thing.
Let me hop in here real quick to mention the fact that this is a thing that just came out within the last month. Frontier's valuation crossed the $1.6 billion line.
Yeah, so they're in the big boy club now, and so I think it's fair to expect the same kind of professionalism and amazing things and great strategies that they've shown in certain parts of how they've rolled things out across the board. Like, they're a big company now, and they got to compete with the big boys, and if they're looking for mind share from people that can spend their time on any game. The whole thing of them just deciding not to really talk to people for months just seemed weird. I'm glad we're past that. It'd be interesting to see how they balance the resources going forward, because they're obviously going to be changing a lot of things in the game, and some of that's going to require a whole lot of hand holding with fixing bugs and balancing things, and while at the same time keeping us excited about the future.
And don't get me wrong, they very, very clearly said, "Hey guys, we're putting everything on hold because we're working on future development." It's not like they didn't say what they were doing. Everyone said they were. Well, not everyone. A lot of people were saying they were liars and that the game is in whatever. What is it? Safety. What's the term for it?
Maintenance mode.
Maintenance mode. The game is in maintenance mode already, and they're just lying to you. And very clearly, they weren't. We can see now with what all that they did with Odyssey. They weren't lying, but it was. I just think that it was not. I think it was a suboptimal choice for them to have no resources allocated to current keeping the game feeling alive.
Yeah, and given, and I wasn't in the game for this, but hearing about how the September patch had gone previously,
Oof,
and the
that
kind
was
of
a rough one.
right, and so I could see how that would erode confidence, and then hearing stories through again other videos and things in the past, how the old timers are like, yeah, you'll get excited about this, and then when it comes out, it's gonna fall short. Like there was a lot of cynicism.
There
around
was, but I think that cynicism was sort of earned through a lack of, like, let's be honest, the Beyond chapter of, the After Horizons sort of bit of Elite Dev had some troubles, and then it went from that sort of suboptimal situation straight into nothing. Like, we're putting everything on pause because we're doing this other thing. And I get what they were doing. I just hope in the future they have enough money now. They're a 1.6 plus billion-dollar company whose baby, their original product, the thing that brought them to the dance, was Elite Dangerous. And I hope that when we get to the next dev cycle, the next big upgrade cycle, that it is sort of resources are allocated in a way that allows for it while maintaining love for the current whatever. I hope that we never see Galnet go away again. I hope that we never see CGs or IIs go away again. That doesn't mean that we have to have one every week, all week, for forever and ever and ever. Like, we can have little, a break here of a week or two and whatever, and like, that's fine. And I think that Frontier doing it the way that they did it here, where they said, yeah, we got a break of a couple weeks where there's no CGs, but in that time there's a sort of big thing for you to focus on with regard to engineers and with regard to building out all kinds of new ships. That's a smart way to do it. Another thing they could do is say, hey man, for, we're not going to give a, the next time they want to take a couple weeks off for something, it doesn't have to be that it's cheap engineering. It could be that it's something going on where just passenger missions pay a massive amount, or mining somehow pays extra because, some lore thing that says like, because of resources, we're building up some new huge thing to deal with the threat of, Alliance versus or Alliance versus Thargoids, or Empire versus Federation or something, so we're paying out extra for minerals because we need to build up whatever. Or it could be, there's lots of different things they could do where they find reason to pay you extra for exploration or for mining or for combat or for something, and just let people dive into that with a gusto. There's smart things that they can do there, but I just hope that we don't see sort of Galnet go away again. I really, really hope that. So, is there anybody else that wanted to chime in on those thoughts before we move into? We're going to start with the January patch.
Yeah, I kind of would like to. I think
Hop in.
trying to come at it from a different direction. I think.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. I used to love Galnet. I'd get on, I'd do my stuff, I'd listen to Galnet, and I enjoyed it. And when it went away, I was not real happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I never got bored with the game. I never felt like I needed to have my hand held and I needed more content. And I guess part of that is because, quote unquote, MMOs, if this can be considered an MMO, which it kind of is, I've never really played too many other MMO live games where they're constantly updated. So to me, the universe was the universe. There was plenty of opportunities of things to do to keep yourself busy, go make money, get your triple elite, build your ships, EGS, you name it. There's all kinds of stuff that I did. And I just didn't feel like I needed my hand held. I knew the game wasn't dead. I knew there was stuff coming in the future. And it never really concerned me. It was great that Galnet came back, and I love everything that's been going on since. So it's much better now. But that being said, I don't really know that we have to have constant live content all the time. I think this game is set up so that you don't have to have that all the time. And in regards to the 1.6 billion, that's great for FDev. I'm very happy for their success. And Roy, you touched on the cynicism and the never play on patch day and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to say, don't expect that to go away necessarily. I mean, look at Cyberpunk, for example. How many?
Oh God.
That's not a small company that put that out, and that
Yeah,
had
but
issues.
let's
you can go through the line. Almost any new game that comes out these days has
Yes.
bugs with it like crazy.
don't hold up Elite to the Cyberpunk level, because Cyberpunk was a shit show of a release. Look at even AAA gold standard, the best of the best with the releases. Look at WoW back in the day of its heyday. Even WoW, the best of the best, when a new patch comes out, the first week is a shit show of crashes and things going wrong. You're going to get, I guarantee you're going to get that with Odyssey, because you get that with every game. But that's not a sign that it's a bad game. That's just the growing pains of any MMO. So anyone who says, expect Odyssey to be perfect, and if it releases with any problems, it's a failure, that's complete bullshit. MMOs release buggy as fuck and need work in the first couple of weeks. Expect that with Odyssey too, and I'm saying that as someone who expects to love Odyssey. You're absolutely right, Tweaked. Just know that this is a thing that's going to happen. Allow for it. Don't ever, this was the thing I learned from being a WoW player back in the day. Don't take the first week of release off because, like, oh, I'm going to take a week off of work and I'm going to just play the game. Half of that week, the servers are going to be down fixing stuff. That's just life. Relax with that. Go ahead.
I would also contend that Elite Dangerous is even more complicated. The systems all interact with each other. So when you mess with one system, it messes up other systems.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of an interlocked chain that everything's put together. And most other games aren't that complicated. So I would say that FDev has their handful when they do update a certain part of this game, how it affects everything else. And I think they're in a kind of a lone situation. And Star Citizen's not nearly that big. There's no other game I've played. I've been playing video games since Space Invaders and Pac-Man. I've never played a game this sophisticated with this many systems interworking together. And I think people tend to forget that.
No, 100%. That is just going to be the case, and you just have to know that going in, and know that. How do I say this? It's not a situation of that's a sign of, oh, well, these guys suck, they can't make a good game. Like, nope. MMOs, as you say, Tweak, they are so crazy involved of millions of things touching other millions of things with large groups of players. When you make a single player game, you can not always, but you can make a polished thing that is like tested, and you put it out and it runs. MMOs are always like this, and you have two options with MMOs. You can either be mad when the new thing comes out and it's buggy as shit for the first month or two and needs work, or the alternative is you don't get new stuff. And for me, if I have to pick between the two, I'll take buggy as fuck for a month or two and then new shit, because that's awesome. So, yeah, 100%. All right. We're going to jump things around a little bit here. I never played the plugs before, and I'm going to claim now that was actually on purpose, because I was going to play it now. We're going to move around and play it all different things, and then we're going to jump into the actual patch cycle and stuff, and we're going to comment on it. So here we go.
At youtube.com/Elite Week and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Elite Week. If you're watching us on YouTube or Twitch and would like to know how to catch us on our podcast, check out anchor.fm/Elite Week.
For sending us your thoughts by email, you can reach us at eliteweek3306@gmail.com.
Our very active and growing Elite Week Discord can be found at tinyurl.com/Elite Week Discord, where you can check out or contribute to community feedback, resources on turning the wheel, and real-time updates about Elite from a variety of content creators.
In addition to the Discord community feedback channel, feel free to write in our YouTube comments anything about the topic of the week, as well as anything else you'd like to share. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe and click on the bell. It really helps us out. On Twitch, a follow would be much appreciated.
If you're on Twitter, feel free to follow at EliteWeek3306 for news and information about Elite Dangerous and cool sci-fi and space news.
We record live on YouTube every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1 a.m. UTC, so come and join in on the fun.
If you're listening to us on the podcast, please make sure to rate and review us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform you use. And let us know if there's a format you want us to look into.
We don't do Patreon, so save your money and just tell your friends about the show.
All right, we're back. Let's jump into it. So the elite patch cycle for 2020, there were sort of a couple of big sort of patches. The first was the January 14, 2020 patch. Now, here's what that brought in. The FSS was changed. They had that situation where people were complaining. They're like, oh, there's this delay when I'm scanning it for the point of interest, for the geological or the biological signal sources. And they were like, okay, well, we're gonna. They did a beta type thing where they said, well, here, try it this way. And the way that they said it, like you basically had to sort of go there and scan it, which was worse. And a lot of us were way worried, like, man, that's crazy. And then what they did was brilliant. They said, well, you could do either or. If you want to do it the old way and wait, you can. And they kind of zippied it up a little bit. Or if you want to go to the place and do it the faster way, you can. Like, you could do either way, which was, I thought, a brilliant thing, because they put out a beta where they said the fix for the problem was, I think, worse than the problem, and a lot of people were not happy. And then they very smartly took feedback on that and said, well, you could do either or. Now you make yourself happy, and I think that was the smartest thing they could do. Another big thing that came from the January 14th, 2020 patch was NPC crews are now on your insurance policy. You have the option to get them back. A lot of people overlook that. They forget, but that was a huge thing when it came in. So many people were super, super happy. 5 new system states were added to the game: drought, infrastructure failure, natural disaster, public holiday, and oh yeah, terrorist attack. That one later in the year plays into the story with the whole NMLA thing. I think that's super, super interesting, and let's definitely not lose sight of that. There was a mining nerf in January. It was sort of the second round of a group of mining nerfs, in which it was the death of void opals. Void opals were king as of the January 14th, 2020 patch, or January 13th. The void opals were king, and then on the 14th with that patch, that killed void opals. Interestingly, Frontier left low temperature diamonds artificially high. While they nerfed all the other shit, mining-wise, they left LTDs, and I think they did that on purpose because they knew fleet carriers were coming, and they wanted to just sort of like, okay, let's still give people an easy way to make money because we need to, try to sort of help people out because this shit's coming down the pike. And in addition to that, they buffed the Dolphin. They gave the Dolphin heat characteristics, like just a crazy, crazy buff, and made it to where Dolphin is like a super awesome little teeny tiny explorer ship. So that was the January 14th, 2020 patch. That was coming on the heels of the last patch before that, big patch wise, was the September patch, which was the ARCs and the new player experience patch. And as Roy pointed out earlier, that patch was kind of a complete shit show. That broke a massive amount of things in the game for what seemed like a very small, like I said earlier a couple minutes ago, when you're changing all kinds of major stuff in a good way, you're going to have shit that breaks, and that's fine. You have to accept that. But what we had with the September patch was a weird worst of both worlds, where it broke lots of things in the game and it didn't add a whole hell of a lot from the viewpoint of established players. It did add a lot on the new player experience, but it broke shit for older players.
Yeah, I have something to say on the September
Hop
patch.
in.
That was one that I was there for, and
Me too.
the big thing that was really the biggest issue then is that a lot of the things that were broken, and it's been so long now I can't remember specifics, but it was stuff that like the second somebody who actually plays the game had logged in and actually did anything, it's like, oh, this is broke as fuck. I can't do this. And it's like you notice it within the first minute and a half of loading in.
I remember
And
some of the
that was
specifics. You couldn't get to the mission board. It'd
Yep.
be very hard to work BGS when you couldn't get to the mission board.
The mission board glitched out. There was weird glitches with combat. Now, the reason for that, the reason why everything was screwy, and let's not dive too deep into that because that was the year, that was 2019. That was before the year that we're focusing on. But it was because the changes of arcs, because the arc system in the background touches everything. Everything that you do earns arcs. And because of all of that, there was a weird problem with the arc system, and the implementation of it was such that since it touched everything, it fucked up everything. But that's all been addressed and fixed. Yeah.
I do have one praise for that though, because if I'm not mistaken, and I may be misremembering, but that is also when they introduced the error codes that we see now, like Scarlet Crate or
those are
Orange
older.
Sidewinder.
Those have been around from before
are they
that.
older?
Yep.
Are you
That's
positive?
been around. I'm absolutely positive, and the reason why I know that is part of the joke of the Orange Sidewinder bar that has been a thing for the Lave Radio crew for like 4 years now goes back to that. You just saw it a lot more because
I
yeah,
had never seen any of the error codes, but they became a lot more prevalent on the September patch. At the
just
very least.
because everything was broke, so you got to see them a lot more.
But the main reason I bring it up as a praise though is because it showed that they actually took the time when they did all of that integration with arcs to actually put in error codes to catch, because without something for us to say, hey, this is what the game told me, they miss out, Frontier, on a lot of different opportunities for troubleshooting stuff. And to me that was a really big, hey, where we care, where we're creating documentation within our code base to make sure that we can fix things moving forward. Because you may see Scarlet Crate and have no idea what the fuck that means, but for a developer, that's Control F, find, search Scarlet Crate, and bam, it takes you to every instance of the Scarlet Crate error in the code base. So just a little bit of praise on that, because that's when, yes, everything was fucked, but it was also apparent that we had all of the code tracking in.
100%. And how interesting is it that this terrorist attack state was added to the game back in January of 2020, and we're having actual real story big events of terrorism brought into the game, as of October, November of 2020, that much later. I think that I find that intriguing myself.
Yeah, Frontier's very much a plan ahead kind of company and what they do. And I will say that September patch and all those things that the states that they added and whatnot, I think
No,
they
that was
slowed
January.
down because January, my bad. I think they slowed down a lot of their stuff though because the community raged face over it.
I tend to think that Frontier is fairly confident in their release cycle for their plans, and they tend to. I've heard more than once from Frontier, like, yeah, we think people aren't going to like this, but we're doing it anyways because we've got a plan. And I kind of respect that to a certain extent, because there needs to be a sort of design sort of integrity of, like, we have a plan, it involves these 16 steps, we're going to put them out. And it's a weird place where as a company, as a consumer company, you have to cater to your audience. But to a certain extent, I think WoW fell into the trap of catering to their audience too much, and it led to a dog shit product where I feel like, companies that stick to their guns to a certain, or know when, you have to, it's a weird art science magic thing where you have to know when to bend to the will of your consumers and when to stick to your guns, and to have an integrity to your design philosophy where you're putting out what you're putting out. All right, so that covers the January patch, which was the first of 2 massive patches that we had. The second massive patch that we had in 2020 was the June Fleet Carrier update. Now, this patch had 2 betas. Beta 1 ran from April 7th to April 20th. And in Beta 1, fleet carriers were absolute dog shit and nobody should have bought one, period. It was designed as unhelpfully and as overpriced and as whatever as you could get. And it was a huge question mark. I think that they preemptively jacked the prices up on everything just so that they could back down, and they preemptively put out as few services as possible so that they could go up, because they knew they were going to have a certain amount of salt and they were planning it, and that was their design philosophy. I personally am not a fan of that philosophy, but it's what they went with. And the second beta, which ran from May 11th to May 26th, was much more in line, and people, by the end of the second beta, the vast majority of the community had come around to say, like, hey man, this is actually pretty good. So in the patch from June, you had fleet carriers were added, which brought for the first time to the Elite Dangerous Galaxy the ability for players to trade directly with one another and the abilities for players to store things, in addition to a sort of movable station in which a player could take all of their belongings and put it in all different kinds of places and have repair and replenishment and all kinds of, and even universal cartographics, which led to some interesting, silly, weird, wonky stuff with people finding stuff in 509 and getting to scan, Polaris and all different kinds of places. But it brought forth a new level of sort of things in the galaxy. And in addition to that let's not lose sight of the fact that brought along with it record numbers of players, player activity, that it just jumped up because it gave people a big shiny prize to grind for. And guess what? Spoiler alert, MMO players, they dig that shit. They get off on that shit. They'll say that they don't. They'll say that they hate it, and then they'll get to grinding and, whatever. It also brought with it CQC queuing in game for the first time. We've never had that before, and it brought with it that. It also brought with it a buff to subsurface deposit missiles. The subsurface deposit mining, which had been sort of dog shit for forever, got good for the first time for a little while and then went back to being suboptimal. It also brought with it the opportunity for players to block any other players. You didn't have to have any reason. You could just block players who you wanted to, which was a huge and interesting and I think key design philosophy idea. I'm not saying that I like it or don't like it. I'm staying out of that whole thing, but it's telling that they added that. And also, low temperature diamonds and overlapping hotspots both got nerfed at the same time, such that it basically killed off LTDs as the go-to and returned for a while. What is it? Mining Paynite. Mining Paynite was the king again for a while. And it also added tritium to the game, which is a new mineral, which is big and interesting. And also, for the first time, there is a material in the game that is, gatherable for players, and you can trade it to each other for a value. It's for the first time, there's a commodity that players would actually want to trade with each other. Now, subsequently, the way that it's played out, the prices for tritium are cheap enough, and it is gatherable easily enough from NPC sources that didn't pan out as of yet as a actual market. I was thinking, and I was saying openly, like, this is going to be the first time we're going to have a real player market. This is going to be like, we're going to have a baby Jeddah set up, like for people that play Eve, you have Jeddah, which is where you go to trade stuff. We're going to have a baby Jeddah where people are going to be, there's going to be a big vibrant player market of people trading tritium. It hasn't as of yet materialized. It may in the future. Who knows?
It did happen, but then the cheap supply of buying it kind of
it
dwindled when they fixed the BGS
it
state effect.
it started to happen, but it didn't really. There was an inkling of it, but it never. It needed a little more time to get its feet under itself. But I think there was so much salt that they killed it prematurely, and I would love to see changes made such that it comes back. I would love to see more materials and more things added to the game. I would love to see some player production so that we get real player markets of people trading stuff with each other and people doing interesting things for dynamic gameplay. And I would love to see stuff like that happen. So yeah, there was that, and then that was followed by the saga of the dot patches, the post FC dot patches, in which, everything was good, and then everything got a little bit better, and then the third .3 dot patch just fucked the whole game, and Tritium is screwed, and mining is screwed, and everything is this, and everything is that, and then the .4 patch things got better, but then they broke the pulse wave analyzer, and there was a whole sort of roller coaster up and down of the dot. We'll call them the dot patches for the FC dot patches. So that's basically how I see the Fleet Carrier big patch. Beta 1 was dog shit. Beta 2 was way better. Final product was pretty good. Dot patches went from good to worse to better to way worse to sort of better, but breaking the pulse wave analyzer. That's kind of how I see the whole thing. Who wants to hop in first with this?
I will.
Go ahead.
Just all in all, the addition of fleet carriers into this game has been spectacular. It has changed the way you can do things in a lot of different facets of this game. And it was just a great idea by the way they implemented it, I think. Patches, they were what they were, like you said. They had some issues. But my main takeaway of this actually applies to Odyssey. And the fact that I wasn't around. When I first found Elite Dangerous, Horizons had already been released. So this is the first quote-unquote beta experience that I saw. And on Xbox, we got both betas on Xbox, so we were able to partake in that, which leads me to know that there is no reason we can't do the same for Odyssey, yet we have heard nothing about it.
Let me just hop in real quick. Xbox wasn't in beta 1, they were in beta 2.
Well, that might be, but still, we had beta access.
You did.
The fleet carriers before they were
100%,
released.
100%. You guys were in the May beta, yeah. And you should absolutely get access to the Odyssey beta that's coming. Absolutely.
I'm hoping so, but I have not at this point heard anything about it. But that being said, the fleet carriers were the first real content added into the game that totally changed the way I played the game. I didn't even rush out to get one at first. I waited for a while to see how everybody else used them, and I just kept seeing one person use it this way and another person use them that way, and then a third person use them that way, and I was like, man, I gotta have one of these things. So
for sure,
stuff for the fleet carriers because they are spectacular.
Right on. Roy, hop in on this.
Yeah, that was also my first beta, and I enjoyed it. I found and reported some bugs, and they got fixed, and it was cool to see that process work. One thing I've been curious about, though, is some of the lingering. It's not really bugs; it's more like features we want, like the fuel transfer one, for example. I wonder if is this just not changed because whatever they're going to do with the code refresh or engine overhaul or whatever it's called is going to make it easier after that, or is it literally that thing is just way down the list and they're focused on 1,000 other things? And I hope it doesn't turn into a case where as new things get released, they leave these sort of stubs of almost complete ideas hanging out there. Other games I've played have done that.
I hate to break it to you, Roy. I don't think that they've not thought this through. I don't think that they aren't aware that we want this. I think that they've made a decision, and I could be wrong. This is just a guess on my part. For better or worse, for right or wrong, I think they've made a decision as a design philosophy that they don't want fleet carriers to be too easy to automate. They don't want... So let's look at what they've left out of fleet carriers. So number one, the whole sales thing on fleet carriers is a shit show. there's no good way to make money or to make good use of selling modules and ships and whatever as an economic sort of business tool. That's not what they're for. They're good for mining, they're good for storage, they're good for trade of materials and stuff back and forth for players, but it's just not, and having modules or ships for sale is not a way to make money as much as it is a thing to do so that you have a ship for your friend, a loaner or whatever, if they get someplace and they need whatever. But so that whole side of it is disappointing to me, and I hope gets looked at and reworked and gets addressed. But the other side of it that is sort of weak on fleet carriers is, number one, fuel transfer, and number two, sort of plotting and scheduling jumps. And there's no excuse for those two things to not be there, except for the fact that as a design philosophy, I think Frontier has decided we don't want to make this super, super easy where you just put in a list of instructions, have your shit all automated, and then go away for a 2-week vacation and come back and boom, you're at SAG A or you're at Salamis Reach. They just want you to have to be there to do this stuff. I think a good compromise would be to let us transfer the fuel, but then just don't give the opportunity to schedule the jumps. I want the opportunity to schedule the jumps, but if it's a problem for them, then okay, fine, give us A but not B, and then that way still you can't really automate it. Tweak, you had a thought on? Okay, go ahead, Rob.
Go ahead. Oh, I just to follow up on that, I would just say that makes perfect sense. They could choose to communicate that. That would sort of put that to bed. Whether people like it or not, at least we'd know their position.
Fair. Tweak.
Yeah, well, on that, I agree totally. Especially the fuel transfer. To have to get into my Type 9 to transfer fuel into that, to therefore transfer it into my fleet carrier where it already came out of, is kind of silly to me. It's kind of immersion breaking. But their answer in one of those AMAs where it said nothing to tell you at this time about fleet carrier interiors makes me wonder if we don't have a big surprise coming to us all around on fleet carriers at some point.
Fingers crossed, baby. We'll see. All right. So next up we have, that covers sort of the big patches of the year. Now let's talk about the next thing, which was on October 10th, the return of Galnet and CG's The Galaxy Returns to Life. For me, for my money, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree, but just as my personal opinion, that the return of the Galaxy coming to life was bigger than Odyssey. Like, that is if I think of all of the things that brought me joy this year in Elite Dangerous, that was bigger than Fleet Carriers. That was bigger than Odyssey. That was as big as it gets. That was the big, and I would tie to that the rebalance whole whatever, because that's part of this whole sort of current sort of addressing of things and making things live and dynamic and balanced and the current play experience. Now I'm sure in 2 months, 3 months, I'm going to be talking about how, oh my God, Odyssey is amazing. But for right now, of all the things that Frontier did this year that brought me joy, that's the biggest. 10 out of 10. I love you. That's awesome. Hop in, guys.
Yeah, I would say it was like throwing a switch. I mean, in terms of going from picking apart things that had happened over a month to see what there was interesting to, I can't even keep up anymore. Like, it literally was overnight. Suddenly I'm, the horse is galloping and I'm just hanging on. Totally different feeling in the game sort of universe when that's happening, and it's awesome. Yeah, and I don't know if it's, I get your point that it's bigger than Odyssey. I would say it's more like, yeah, of course, if they'd launched Odyssey, that would have the same effect. To me, it answered completely the question of, is this, what's the outlook on this game for the future? How committed are they? What kind of resources are they putting into it? Now it's like, well, there you go.
Yeah.
You asked for it, here it came. Now there's more things than you can even keep up with.
Oh, and don't get me wrong. I'm super psyched for Odyssey. Odyssey, I'm looking at Odyssey as like, that's a sexy Porsche. That's like just, wow, that's amazing. But all of the other stuff that I just talked about with the Galnet and the CGs and the return and bringing the Galaxy feeling back to life and the rebalance, that's a Ferrari. That's like, you just, even like, if you look at it and it's like, well, I could not want anything more than Odyssey. And then you say, oh, well, how about this other stuff too? And you're like, okay, you broke me. You gave me more than I can get my head around. Thank you. Tweet. Get in on this love
to
fest.
Me, it's not even the fact that Galnet is back. It's the way Galnet is back. It's the thought and the planning that they put forth in bringing us these stories and intertwining them, and we're still really just at the beginning of it. It's a 2-year epilogue of a story, really. It's spectacular the way they're doing it. I personally don't think it's bigger than Odyssey, because I think once Odyssey gets here and actually works, it's going to enlarge the game. It's going to make it multi-dimensional as opposed to just in space, I guess.
Fair enough.
But that being said, having Galnet to check when I turn my game on again and I'm running my election missions from one station to the other, it's so nice. And then to see a story that calls back to a story that I remember from a year and a half ago or 2 years ago or whatever it was, and then it's like reading the paper. It's like, ooh, what's going to happen tomorrow? I can't wait to see where this one goes.
Okay. That's, yeah. I dig it. Arson, I'm not letting you get away without hopping in on this one. This is to me the big one. Get in on this.
Yeah, good. So I think my opinion is that fleet carriers finally coming out and then Galnet activating, so to speak, and as was eloquently put, and the way that it is activated, Odyssey, to me, I feel like that's going to mark the start of Elite. As far as I'm concerned, since 3301, we have basically been, okay, we're pioneers in the sense that we're the first generation of pilots to hit the space waves with the current frameshift drive technology and all that good stuff. But, you know, we have been dramatically controlled by the powers that be and lore and what technology we have access to. And with Odyssey and now, well, with fleet carriers and now Odyssey, I feel like now is when the story is really gonna pick up. And I'm so pumped for it. The whole feeling that was described about being able to log into the game and scroll through the news, like I missed that while it was gone. And having that again is absolutely fantastic. It's definitely been a highlight of the year in the game for me. But I gotta say, fleet carriers have been just as big of a highlight for me because the thing that I have always wanted in Elite more than anything is a nomadic homestead, and they gave it to me. It's literally from day one. All I wanted to be able to do is be a nomad and actually be able to do all the different game activities. And with fleet carriers, that's finally possible.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I know I might have sounded like I was, critical of fleet carriers when I was talking about it before. I love fleet carriers. I think they're awesome. I am a huge fan. I was one of the original fans early on in the days of the April beta 1, where everybody was talking shit on it. I was saying, guys, yes, it's dog shit right now, but everything here is pretty good. It's just that the prices are all out of whack and stuff is weird. They're gonna fix it for beta 2. They're gonna fix it for release. Don't worry. I was the original, whatever. If there's 3 things I could do, 4 things I could do with fleet carrier. Number 1 is take out the entire sales system they have and go back to the drawing board and address that. That needs to be. There's no reason why I can't get a discount on stuff that I buy in bulk so that I can resell it for the price and make a profit. There's no reason that I can't specifically choose the specific things that I want to sell and the numbers that I want to sell and omit the things that I absolutely do not want to sell because they're not going to sell. There's no reason that I shouldn't be able to resupply from out in the verse somewhere. I should be able to put in a sales order and buy these 9 things. And even if it says, just like when you're in SAG A, if you ship over a ship, it says like, well, okay, it's going to be a week. It'll be here in, whatever, 8 days. Okay, fine. I'll wait that time. If I'm in the DSSA and I'm on the ass end of the galaxy, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to get a resupply. And how awesome would it be if that was a player that took that contract and hauled stuff out there? That would be amazing. That would be a cool new service that you might even see like the DS or like the Operation Ida or the Fuel Rats or whatever. What if there became a system of space truckers that actually like was a player group that would go out and you would put in an order and people would go out and haul stuff out to you? But I mean, right now, even if we were to do that as completely sort of immersive player content, there's no way to do it. There's no way. If I were to organize a Discord and get, the what do you call it? Just dumped the slideshow. If I were to go out there and I were to do a thing where like I put together a player group to go out and resupply people's fleet carriers, there's no way for me to do it right now. Like I could sell it to you, like, you could do sales or whatever, like of commodities, but you can't put modules loaded onto a fleet carrier. Like there should be, I want them to look at that. And I would very much like for them to change around the whole fuel transfer and the scheduling jumps. But I understand if those two things together, I understand if they're not going to do that. Just do the fuel part, not the scheduling part. Whatever, okay. But I'm a huge fan.
I just want them to incorporate the squadron public and internal statements into the fleet carrier interface like a news rack.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would love there to be a main page on the fleet carrier with like you could put messages to each other. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I will say one thing, and this is not a criticism of Frontier, but one thing is kind of a criticism of the elite community and content creators as a whole. I noticed the sheer amount of negativity over the prices of fleet carriers completely like derailed their actual testing by the community to such a degree that the only thing a vast majority of content creators were doing was just running in, being like, okay, I bought my fleet carrier, I docked at it, cool, this is what I can do with it, and then they just logged off and produced videos about prices and raging about it.
For beta 1, you're right. For beta 1.
I mean, it still kind of persisted in beta 2. I struggled, like I was actively trying to find people to test with and all kinds of stuff, and I had a lot of trouble with that during that update because there just wasn't a lot of participation because everybody's bitter about the price. And
Elite Week covered beta 2 pretty oh wow. I think I was loose screws at the time. I covered it really well, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I found myself on this show instead of other places.
Fair.
But there were some other places that streamers I won't name that it's just one of those things. It's more just the reason I bring it up is just to remind people that just because you don't like something doesn't devalue it to the point where you should just ignore it, especially having been here since January 1st, 2015 as an elite community member. The beta processes are by far the period of time which you are able to affect the game's development the most, regardless of who you are. And I just want to take the opportunity to call that out with the fleet carriers update and say that in the future, especially when Odyssey hits, guys, get to the beta forums, talk about your findings and all of that stuff. Frontier really does listen during those beta phases.
And when you want to get them to listen, here's what you don't do. You don't start off your message with, you guys suck, you're idiots, I hope you guys all burn in hell, you've ruined the game, Jesus Christ, I hope your wife leaves you. Because that immediately tells the guy, like, okay, don't listen to this asshat. Like, who's going to listen to people that talk to you like that? Start off with, hey guys, I love your game. I'm really excited. I'm so happy and thankful for the opportunity to hop into this beta and to play with this new stuff. Having said that, here's this product and here's why I don't like it. This is broke because of this. This could work better if you did that. And this over here, I don't know. I don't have an answer for it, but I know it's not fun. If you give them those kind of feedback where you come from a civil place and supportive place and then call out what's wrong, whether or not sometimes it's good to call it out and say, here, I don't like this. I would like it better if it did that. That's good because it tells them, number one, I'm not happy with A and I would be happy with B. But also other times it's good to just say, I'm not happy with A, and I don't even know what the fix is. I just know I'm not happy. And they can, they're smart guys and they're in the business. So, if you have an actual fix, okay, that gives them additional feedback of saying like, okay, we have this sort of alternative. Why, and maybe there's a reason on their end why they're not going to do that because there's stuff you don't know. But maybe they look at that and go, okay, well, a lot of people seem to vote up on that idea. Let's look at it. Well, we could do it. Or maybe they can't. But if you just say, I'm not happy with this bit, and not only tell them that you're not happy, but tell them why you're not happy. I'm not happy with this. It feels punishing because of whatever. There's things they can do to make changes to affect those changes. So 100%. And I'm going to let you guys in on a little sort of a thought process I have. If you look at the wording of the pre-sale, whatever, pre-order thing that they had, it said on there that it would have something about access to the alpha and the beta. This is my guess. This is not insider information. This is not anything that I'm not allowed to discuss that I know officially, but this is just my guess. Just using logic. I think when they say access to alpha and beta, I think what we're going to see is, quote, sort of multiple betas, right, of Odyssey. I think the first beta we're going to see of Odyssey is going to be just the pre-order people. And that's their way of sort of putting out a beta that has less people in there so that they can kind of try to address some of the things. And like, okay, let's get the mechanisms right. With instead of having 400,000 people hop on this bitch, let's see if we can get 150,000 people, whatever, a much smaller number hop in and play with the mechanisms and get the mechanisms where we want them, right? And then after that, maybe wait a month or 3 weeks or something. And then you do beta 2, or maybe you do alpha 1 and 2 or whatever, of just the smaller number of people playing with the mechanisms to dial that in where they want it. And then after that, separated by a little bit of time, then they have the beta, which is everybody's free. Come on in. Let's crash this bitch. And figure out now that we got the shit dialed in where we want it, now let's check the server stability issues and the sort of inter-server meshing or caching of whatever that shit is. Let's get that part sort of solid. What do you guys think on that?
I sure hope so. Seems logical and a good way to do it. I guess we'll see.
Arson?
I very much think that's their game plan. It was made clear that, because one of the things that I'll have to say as somebody who purchased a LEP back in the day, when we hit a year or two or more there where patches weren't being beta tested, I was extremely bitter about it because I bought a LEP for beta access so that I could contribute, and then they, did one major patch after the LEP purchase where it actually gave me the beta access, and then it was like, boom, no more betas.
Well,
it's like, okay,
they're back.
what's up? But
they're back,
they
and
are back.
they said LEP is in. So yeah.
And like I said, though, going back to what I said in the last little section there, the betas are the time to get in. And the fact that we have 2 betas confirmed, or 2 test periods of confirmed for Odyssey,
Minimum.
Minimum is fantastic. I hope that they take the testing seriously. I know that I personally, when Odyssey comes out, I will be thoroughly working it over and giving feedback to Frontier, because uh, this is the best thing that can potentially happen to MMO gaming, in my opinion.
Absolutely. All right, Tweaked.
I think that makes sense, and maybe that plays into the reason we can't pre-order on console yet. Maybe we're not going to get access until the second beta to try to break everything. All I know is if they truly want us to test it and want people to try to find the issue so they can, no pun intended, tweak things down the line and get it working before release, then release it to everybody, because there's a lot of us out here on console that are starving to get our hands on this.
I think we're going to see very, 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 very soon, as in next 2 weeks. I think we're going to see news on the console side of that stuff. I think it's going to be very, very much set up. And it may very much be because I know it's sort of hard. It's sort of like awkward and weird and hard to get betas set up on the consoles. Like there's extra steps you have to do where it's easier to set up betas for computers. So it may be that like that the console side players get less betas than the PC side players. But I think absolutely console players, in addition to PC players, will get some beta access. Like everyone will, I think.
That may be the case, but if I were FDev, I'd want to be careful about it, because I've seen a shift in the console community where a lot of people, for some reason, are under the impression that Odyssey's not going to be available on console, which we know is false. We know it's coming on console. But because these people have seen pre-order now on PC, but not on anything else, in their mind, that means it's not coming to console. So it's kind of putting the wrong
I think they'll address it
impression
soon.
out there, I think. So.
Yeah, I think they'll address it soon, and you're absolutely right. We know for a fact that's not the case. They've said it clearly, but yes, people jump to conclusions and whatever. So, yeah, I think we're going to see that soon. I will address sort of as a last thing from my end on tonight. I want to say that I clearly I'm not confident anymore with my previous time frame expectations for Odyssey release. We're too far. It's too close to end of January for them to, I think, properly implement multiple rounds of betas and all of the things or whatever. So I'm letting go of that, and I'm just going to ride. I'm not even going to make predictions anymore on that. I'm just going to ride the wave, and it comes as it comes. The big sort of the big thing that I want them to do. We've seen issues with regard to sort of the Cyberpunk release. Yes, I know when they release Odyssey, it's going to be buggy as shit. We all know that because it's an MMO. But there's buggy as shit versus, like, shit show, sort of No Man's Sky release. No Man's Sky was maybe one of the worst releases in the history of time. Now, subsequently, they've come back. They've come back hard, and they've put out a really good game over 2 years plus of working on it, whatever. But the launch of it was an absolute train wreck, and they got so much hate from their community. And so, like, I don't want them to go the Star Citizen route of saying we'll get you Odyssey sometime in 2025, but I don't want them to go the push it out before it's done route either. So I'm easing off the stick on that one, and I'm just gonna let Jesus take the wheel. It comes when it comes, and we'll get news as we do, and we'll see how that plays. But yeah, I want to see the betas. I want to see new stuff, and I think now that we have crossed over into 3307 Tweaked, I think you're going to be getting news quickly on the console side of things, and I think we're all going to see some more sort of concrete dates for. I think we're not far off from getting a release date, from getting beta dates, from getting more details of all of the roadmap from here on, and we'll see how that goes. I do need to just let everybody know again. Arson is still on the show. He's still going to be on the show from now on, but he's going to be, because of IRL sort of things, he's going to be available for like half the shows or whatever. And he's always welcome when he's here. But just it's one of those situations where real life has to come first. He's still family. He's always there. He'll always be in the Discord. He'll always be whatever, but he won't necessarily be on air for every show just because of whatever. So I want to give a big salute to Arson. Thank you so much for everything that you've done the entire time on this show. Stuff from the tech side, stuff from helping out the Discord, stuff from just being one of the panel, you're one of my guys, man. You're one of the main crew, and your insights and your input and having you on the show is always awesome. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you. It's been a ride.
And the ride's not over. It's just not every week. So, yeah. All right, guys. I want you guys to hop in on feedback as far as the new format of the show, the ideas, the possible ideas of, having a calling all commanders section where people can hop in and talk for a little bit and whatever. We're aiming on having sort of 90-minute, shows, an hour to 90-minute, on the long end, 2 hours, but whatever. We're going to trim stuff down, and we're going to kind of try to give you a more talking about elite product that is a little more streamlined and doesn't take up quite so much of your day. So on everything, Tweaked, hop in on stuff from the past, stuff going forward. Give us a minute or two wrap up on your thoughts of 2020 and stuff to come.
Well, I think I've said before that all bugs and everything that's gone wrong in the game, which has been minimal, they're really, with the exception of a few weeks there was nothing that broke the game to where you couldn't play it. So with Galnet coming back, with fleet carriers coming out, and now Odyssey right around the corner, it's been a great ride, and I can't wait to see where this is going. Personally, on a personal note, Open Pilots Initiative, the squadron that I'm a part of, that we run, have been in game almost a full year now, and I just want to take a minute to say how proud I am of everybody in the squadron. We're almost 100 people strong now. We're crossing over onto the PC side. We're in 13 systems. We have all of our material traders that we wanted. Our expansion blueprint is pretty much complete. So it's been a fun year for OPIX in that regard too. So very excited. Love Elite Dangerous. Love the direction it's going, and couldn't be more excited.
Right on. Huge salute to the OPIX boys. Roy.
I've really enjoyed overall the direction things went in 3306. Like I said, it was a whirlwind when I started, and I got through that early whirlwind just in time for the actual game to take off like a galloping horse. So all good stuff. Still super excited for everything that's coming, and all these intertwining storylines, and more to do than I have time for, and I'm happy with it all. I would also like to just echo big salute to big salute to Arson for all the work he's done up to this point, with the level, not just the great commentary and perspective, having been a longer term player, but also the sort of professionalism and quality he's brought to the production level of the show. So we'll aspire to keep that level.
Right on.
Absolutely. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, Arson. You'll be missed on the show. Glad you're going to be on occasionally, and stay in touch, man.
So my sort of thing that I'm going to say from this year, I've had an awesome time in Elite. In the last week, I've taken a vacation from Elite and played almost exclusively Star Citizen, and I've been having so much fun with it. I ended that sort of Star Citizen vacation, yesterday, today rather, and hop back into Elite. And let me tell you something. I've had so much fun in Star Citizen. There's cool stuff. It's neat. It's an interesting sort of thing. But playing Star Citizen for, like 5-6 days straight makes me enjoy the stability and the like so many aspects of Elite where it's like, oh, this is nice. I'm coming home now. It feels good. It was great. It was a neat thing to do while sort of we were having this sort of little break in Elite, and it was fun for me. But yeah, I super appreciate it. As a guy who this morning loaded up a Caterpillar with 1.8 million credits of Laranite, took off, and about a minute into my flight had the game crash on me, which then just deleted all of my money. Yeah, oh man, do I love Elite. So yeah, now don't get me wrong, Star Citizen's super fun as a tech demo, and I strongly encourage. And if you're interested, go to the Discord, go to the Star Citizen channel. There's a code where you can get, like, if you use my referral code, you get like $5,000 in space bucks and a free space motorcycle to start yourself off, and that's cool and it's fun. And we'll go in there, and I'm still going to play that here and there to have fun with, because I love like walking around in my ship and doing the weird shit that you can do, mining. The one big oof from Odyssey for me is you can't mine on planet side or on hand, and going around in caves mining with my hand laser for little diamonds and shit has been super fun. And going around in my rock, driving around in my little mining SRV and mining, super fun. And I think that Frontier will end up adding that stuff to Elite eventually, just because it's in No Man's Sky, it's in Star Citizen. I think those are the sort of the big three on space games, and I think that if there's anything that one adds, the others will eventually get to it. No Man's Sky added mechs, whatever, 4 or 5 months ago. Star Citizen is adding mechs, Titan suits, in like March. I think Elite will end up, just give it time. Elite will add mechs. I guarantee you, with Odyssey, Elite will add mechs eventually. And, it's one of those deals, but it for all of the fun that Star Citizen is, it really makes me appreciate so many of the design ideas and philosophies that Frontier put into Elite, because as far as I'm concerned, Elite is the gold standard of the overall product. That's just my personal whatever. And now I'm going to let Arson take over for the final words, because this is his last in the string of regular shows. He'll still be here like every other week, but Arson, give me your thoughts on 2020, on anything that's been said tonight, on stuff going with the show in the future, Odyssey, whatever.
So I have to say, Frontier have ended 2020 on perhaps the strongest note that they have ended a year on with Elite Dangerous. I've got to say, 2019 there was a lot of bitter vet sap dripping off trees that you could read everywhere, and I've got to say, Frontier, they read our shit. They read our cries, our whines, our complaints, and whatnot. And they had that period where they're like, okay, we're gonna step back and we're just gonna take care of the shit, and then we're gonna roll from there. And they did it. And not only did they do it, they came back and they hit it at 100, like 100 straightforward, like out the gate. And they kept hitting it. And then they kept hitting it. And then they went from 100 to 200 and 200 to 300 and so on and so forth. I could go on all day about it. But, some of the biggest highlights, Galnet coming back, not just coming back, but also having a clear plan for 2 years, bringing in new CMs. I didn't really have any problems with our old CMs, but the CMs that are in now and the direction the CM team and the allowances that Frontier has been giving them have been some of the best things that Frontier has done for the community as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. I've really got to salute them. I am just as happy and mystified by the game and the mystique of the storyline as I was back in 2015. That drought is over, and of course with Odyssey coming up, I can't help but feel like we're only just beginning. And if we're only just beginning and the last 5-6 years have been so freaking wonderful, we're in for a treat.
Right on. Say goodnight to the beautiful people, Arson.
Good night, beautiful people. No more
Roy?
fires.
Roy, say goodnight.
Fly casual, stay dangerous.
Tweet.
Hope you enjoyed the show, everybody. Nanu, and get ready because 3307 is going to be a fun one.
Nanu. And don't forget, our boys are back in town. See you next week, people. Love you all. And if you're an engineer, get a hold of me. Take over this shit.
She was a fast machine. She was a photo clean. She was the best damn woman that I'd ever seen. She had them sightless eyes telling me no lies, knocking me out with those American thighs. She took more than a share, had me fighting for air. And when I was calm, but I was already there, because the world was shaking, the earth was quaking, my heart was aching. You were breaking, you shook me all night. Yes, you did, baby. You shook me all night long. Yeah, all night. She's doing double time on the seduction line. She was one of a kind, just a mind on mine. She wanted no applause or just another cause. She made a meal out of me, never coming back for more. And I thought this down to kind of cool me down. But back in the ring, take another swing, because the world was shaking, the earth was quaking, my heart was aching, and you were making it you all night long. Baby, 'cause you shook me all night long. Yes, you did. I say you shook me all night long. I just can't get enough of stuff. You shook me all night long. Yeah. All night. I can't control myself when you walk in the room. I get the glow up all the way through my body. You got me to shake, pretty baby. You, pretty baby, got me shaking. You all night long, got me down to my knees, pretty